So here I am with Zoran and Paul, and we're going to talk about Dr. Olender's project, which is the new vet clinic that we've been now 3 years trying to get site plan approval for. And we're recording it because unfortunately the doctor couldn't be here. So we're going to record it, and I'll send the recording to Dr. Olender.
Okay. So on terms of the application, we have the acknowledgement of agreement that the drawings are fine from the site plan, the landscaping plan, the civil plans, architectural plans, any of the related reports, and the city planner. And we got cleared away any official plan inconsistencies, and we got the minor variances approved. We have one remaining item, and that is the approval from the Ottawa septic system office, OSSO, of the final septic design. And Zoran prepared a septic design, and there was an application form, and he filled out most of it, and I have been sort of the go-between our side of the design team and the OSSO. We were initially dealing with a gentleman by the name of Ryan Heemstra, and we've gone back and forth on some comments, and we're at a bit of an impasse now in terms of the design. And obviously I'm a layperson in this, but the design that they're suggesting, as I understand it, Zoran, would take up more room than there is available, and as well there is a the original septic bed that was designed for the house that's there now. It appears as though it is not in the same location and is not the same shape as what the design drawings were showing. The design drawings, I believe, were done by Patterson Group, and we're at a bit of an impasse, and Zoran had an alternate design option that he wanted to use. And he found, I guess, doing some searching, that other septic system offices in Ontario have approved this design. And Zoran used some soil calculations from another part of Ottawa, because I don't think we have the appropriate soil conditions. The reviewer, Ryan, is also bringing up the issue about the fact that the property itself has got construction rubble on portions of it from when it was used as a dumping ground for the realignment of some of the roads in the area. And we had one meeting, a virtual meeting with Ryan, Zoran, and I. It got a bit confrontational at times, and then Zoran did some revisions. We sent it back to him, and we wanted to loop in his manager, who is going to be signing off on all of this. His manager's name is Terry Davidson, and Terry Davidson has caused issues on this file in the fact that he's we want to have an in-person meeting with him, and it's getting quite tetchy in terms of the authority that the OSSO has, and the fact that Zoran feels that Terry Davidson is overreaching in his role as the OSSO officer. I think that's where I can see it, and maybe Zoran can, if you want, Zoran, I can put the drawing up on the screen, or you can tell sort of. And you had a further phone conversation, because he sent an email that was quite confrontational to us, and Zoran requested that Terry Davidson phone Zoran to try and clear this up, and they did speak, and we've agreed, I think, to have a meeting. I think it's in about a week tomorrow. So that's where it sits right now. We do not have the sign off from OSSO on this file, and that is the final piece of the puzzle to get the site plan approval in place.
And what does RVCA say about all of this?
Well, it's more they defer to OSSO, who happen to be physically located. OSSO, Bruce, does septic design review for the 3 conservation authorities in this area. So MVCA, which we're in, RVCA. So RVCA really shouldn't be involved. It's MVCA. OSSO provides comments to the city. We happen to be in the MVCA watershed on this property. The other 2 being RVCA and SNCA, South Nation Conservation Authority.
Okay, so really, we have to worry only about Ottawa septic approval,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay, Zoran, over to you.
Okay, so since the beginning of all of this, I was contacting the OSSO as a reviewing body. They are still part of the conservation authorities, RVCA, but probably they have the city building office delegated that review to OSSO, but the authority for the signing is probably the city building office, whatever is its name. The reason for that, I contacted my colleagues at PEO. Immediately after I got an email from this guy, Terry Davidson, who is sitting in RVCA since 1990. He's agricultural engineer. He's not civil engineer at all. I checked on him in PEO. And I contacted the PEO and my colleagues at the committees simply because the email he sent out was basically a threat that he is going to look for the legal advice from the PEO. The next part of that letter was about defending Patterson for who knows what reason. Even though I didn't say anything against the Patterson, I have another couple of projects working with them on those things, and saying that he struggles with anybody who proposes something like I did, using the other company's report on something which is 40 kilometers away from this one.
Yeah, Zoran, you might want to explain what background information you used and where it was from.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you explain what the soil, why you use soil conditions from another report and why that's caused such an issue.
Zoran, hang on. Can you share your screen? I gave you permission. Can you share your screen and show us what Patterson drew and what you drew and where the mismatch is?
Well, there's no mismatch. Basically, the only thing which is a link between what Patterson designed and what I did is the so-called percolation rate. Based on that percolation rate.
But hold on a second, Zoran. Sorry to interrupt you, but didn't our friend Paul just say that the outline was incorrect, or did I miss that, or did I misunderstand that?
It wasn't incorrect. Nothing is incorrect. The question would be, it has absolutely nothing with design.
Okay.
So I'll find it, but let me just continue with all of this. So the other company was Golder, and they did the percolation test on the site in New Orleans. The method they used is basically not related to the site, to the location, because they use the sample on the surface. So many comparable elements are in that test and what can be translated on our location. Anyway, I spoke to my colleagues who are specialists. One of them is Berta Kritschker, who was the director of municipal services of London, Ontario. And she was writing a bunch of those documents and regulatory documents. When I contacted her and provided her with that email, she said, seems like this is nothing with about design. The design is just fine. The question would be, okay, is there anything in that Golders report limiting you from using it? And I said, nothing, even though they have three other documents as a references. So basically I can use it. On top of everything, it was published on the city's website. So it's basically public domain. So her conclusion is that this guy, Terry Davidson, is crossing the line. Simply because we have since last...
What line is that, though? Which line is he
The
crossing?
line of authorities. The line of authorities and because he's part of the conservation authorities.
You're right.
Since last year, Bill 23, I think, Provincial Bill 23, doesn't basically takes out from the any conservation authorities to do anything in relation to the building code. So they are in charge of protection of the source water, whatever it is, surface groundwater, whatever. But when it comes to the building codes, they have no authorities. And then she said, okay, the only thing what could happen here is that OSSO was delegated by the building officer from the city of Ottawa to do the review and recommendation to the building office. But then the building office is the one to actually to make a final decision. Probably they will follow their advice, but still. Now it goes back that basically these guys are showstoppers. They are not proceeding further to the building officers, saying, okay, this is the situation, this is our recommendation, but it goes to the building office. They still keep it on their desks, you know. In that case, we can always use a third party reviewers. What I did, I called Berta and I said, Berta, can you do that? You know, as independent. She said, there is nothing wrong with this one. The question would be, okay, do they have any information about the percolation rate in the area? Because we don't have it from the Patterson original document. We have just the loading rate, which is related to the percolation rate, saying it's 5.2 liters per square meter per day. From my observation, I found that, first of all, the septic system now, septic bed on site, is much smaller than it was designed. It's a secondary system, it's not tertiary system, so it doesn't have 3 stages. And didn't have any issue for a long time. There is no puddling on site or whatever. So my assumption is, okay, it's possible that the percolation rate is better. So we can load more water. The outcome of that calculation is basically we need much smaller site than space than they say, you know. So this is the engineering discussion. These are my observations. I want to talk with the engineer in charge at the OSSO. EITs are not allowed to do that. They can do the regulatory stuff. You know, like it's according to building code. That's it. Whatever is technical issue, I have to talk with licensed engineer, and that was a Terry. But Berta has an opinion, and she is going to be in a meeting with him. So she's of opinion that he's trying to run the business around that Build 23 and to stay in the business. When he called me back the second day, well, it confirmed such concern. Simply, he said that did I contact any installer to see if that grade of the sand is available in the area? Then he said, who is going to be the designer of the septic system? He said, did you check on our site? We have a preferred list of preferred designers and installers. All those things are big no-no by the PO regulation or anything. It's basically conflict of interest. Basically eliminating any business that he doesn't like and running I asked him, okay, is it public office or your private shop? No answer. Are you a public servant? Did you sign the code of conduct? No answer. So I think it's nothing. It has nothing with the design. The design is fine. I already contacted at the beginning. I contacted Waterloo Biofilter because they have those tertiary systems, designed and produced. And I said, okay, this is what I have on site. I have private house, which is now larger. The old one burned down. The larger one is here. Now the clinic, it's a mixed use, from private to commercial and stuff like that. Institutional hospitals are basically institutional and stuff. They said, yep, this is the set of tanks we propose. Fine. Yesterday, I contacted them again, and I said, okay, this is an issue now. Terry is pushing me to use type A filter bed, which is quite big, They said back to me, okay, you can use the shallow trenched filter bed, which is extremely small. You have to bring material on site. You have to clean the site. And I said, okay, yeah, there is a bunch of pile of material from the construction, from the building, and it has to be cleaned, and for the new building and all of that. So we are pretty much in good position to regrade the whole stuff for such type of filter bed, meaning shallow trenched, which is really small. The difference between what Terry is pushing me to do and shallow trench, the type A is gravity system. The shallow trench is pressurized system. It has big chambers underground, in that sand, so we can achieve that even in a extremely low percolation soil. I asked them to provide me with that design guideline for those shallow trench, simply because Terry didn't have any objection about the septic system, those 3 chambers. And I said, okay, now we are going all 9 yards, and we are going to use the guideline for the septic system, for the septic bed from the Waterloo. So it's one package. I'm assuming it's optimized already. They have it in place, installed. They know what's pro or con on certain sites and how we are going to deal with these things. So basically, then Terry would be in position either to accept everything or decline everything, right? So the package is like that. And Waterloo is listed on his preferred designers and stuff. Okay, let's go that way. I don't want to stop the project, you know. I'll deal with the Terry issue later on, you know, through the PEO. When I told him, okay, I already contacted, I said, did you send that complaint to PEO? Oh no, it's still on my desk. And I said, okay, I already contacted them, just to let you know. And I talked to them, and there is different opinion about all of this, you know. So that's the situation. Now for the meeting with him, Berta is going to join. And she says, I have just one question.
Just to be clear, Zoran, she's joining virtually.
Virtually, yeah.
Yep.
She would be probably in Florida next week, but she said, "Oh, I would be glad to meet, you know, to join the meeting." And she said, "I have just one question. It's who has what authority in all of this? In regard to the Bill 23 and the authorities of RVCA. You know, is he part of the RVCA or he is a branch of the RVCA being delegated by the building office from City of Ottawa to do the review?" And she said, review and authority are totally different things. So that will be her only question. But now to proceed and to get that approval from the building office at the city, I would suggest we simply go this way right now. I include the Waterloo biofilter company. They are not going to charge for anything because it's in their interest to sell their equipment. On the other side, through the regulation, and it's also written on Waterloo biofilter site, any kind of tertiary system in these advanced filter beds have to be tested at least every 3 years, you know, for the biochemical effluent quality and stuff like that. You know, it's human waste. So that's why I'm a little bit concerned about this guy, Terry Davidson. He is agriculture engineer. So when we are going to talk about the nutrients and the fertilizers, I'm fine with that. But when it comes to the human waste and the treatment processes of human waste, either urban or rural, I have some concerns about him. But it's just between us, you know, to give you a little bit more of meat for the meeting. But the bottom line would be, okay, now we included Waterloo biofilter. The filter bed design is in line with what we already proposed for the septic system. So we are proposing to have it in full package, you know, and then the request him to proceed with the advice to the building office for the approval, you know. So that's all about.
Let me ask you then, you know, there's some personality conflict here. I mean, I'm not surprised, Zoran, because you know what you're talking about, and many of these officials, maybe they do, maybe they don't, but they certainly like asserting their authority. I get that.
Yeah.
And it's very troublesome. And by the way, you would not be the first person to lose your temper with you know, these folks. I've been known to do that once or twice as well.
Yeah.
Just to make you feel a little better, I had a meeting on site with the chief building official of a township and the local planner. And what they said to my client when I wasn't there was that you better not invest any more money in your project, which he had spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on, because you can't use your property. You can't use your property. And so he calls me up in a panic, and he's a sensitive person. He was almost in tears. And so I met the building official and the chief planner on site. And first thing I said to them, Zoran and Paul, was, is it your intention to put my client out of business? Because if that's your intention, we can have a very short meeting. Just say, okay, we're here to put you out of business. And what we'll have is we'll have some litigation. And I should tell you, I turned to the building official, the chief building official and the planner. I said, by the way, you are going to need your own personal lawyers, because we're going to sue the township for about $2.5 million in damages, and you personally. And the township will have a lawyer. I'm not worried about that, and you don't have to worry about that. But that lawyer cannot represent you. You will have. It was such a gross overreach, and I'm going to tell you why they were saying that. They were saying that this property, which has been used for industrial purposes since 1962, so a long time, it doesn't have enough frontage on the main road. It has an easement, and the easement is not considered frontage on the county road. And I said, you guys don't really understand what you're talking about. My client has legal non-conforming use that goes back over 60 years to continue using this property for storing, what it's been storing there. Boats, and it was ridiculous. And I said, you better, better be prepared. So can you give me an answer? And now, after I poked them really hard, Zoran, they said, oh, no, we're not here. We're just here to have a discussion. I said, well, then let's have a discussion. So the discussion, as it turned out, here's the solution that we ended up with. The discussion was really a non-discussion. They said, if you could have your lawyer write our lawyer, the township's lawyer, saying that your client has legal non-conforming rights, then he can continue. I said, oh, we can get that done. And thank you very much for coming. It was beyond stupid, really. I mean, but my poor client was frightened. He has hundreds of thousands of dollars of spending, lots of boats and other things stored on site, trailers, trucks, you name it. And he was afraid he was going to have them all removed, and he would lose at least $2.5 million. So I mean, they backed off. So I understand the need sometimes to push back, Zoran. I do. I get that. But I also understand what Paul said about 15 or 20 minutes ago, is we have to get this goddamn thing approved. So
absolutely.
So how? I mean, when is this meeting happening?
I think next Friday.
Next Friday. Okay, so a week from Friday. So just literally right before Christmas.
Exactly. Actually, he is on vacation until next Friday.
Okay. Well, taking vacation before his vacation. So by the way, next Friday I'll be on a plane to Australia, so you can't get me. I won't be participating.
That will be okay.
I'm going to see my oldest son and his family. My wife and I are going to Australia to spend Christmas with our oldest son Andrew and his family. So I won't be available.
Yeah. By the way,
I'll be about.
I have to call your younger son about the job at the government.
Yeah. The youngest one is Matthew. He's here in Ottawa, but the older boy, we're meeting him in Brisbane with his family. So, and by the way, Brisbane will be 27 degrees Celsius. I don't know.
My brother lives in Sydney. My brother is in Sydney.
So I lived in Australia for many years. In fact, my oldest boy was born in Sydney. Anyway, and he's got a Canadian passport and an Australian passport. So jumping ahead to next Friday, how do we, personality conflict aside, and I don't care if you poke these guys in the eye, I don't care about that, but personality conflict aside, what do you think, Paul and Zoran, is the right solution so we can get it approved?
Well, you know what, I'll tell you just a little bit what happened in that phone conversation between me and him the day after. he said, I'm not going to proceed with PEO. And I said, you better don't, because you would be paying for all of this, trying to push me out of business, trying to push my client out of business, damaging our reputation, both of us,
100%, yeah.
and for the conflict of interest. So he said back to me, he said, oh, I'm for 20 years the court witness expert. And I said, I was too, in Europe. And I'm qualified for both type of law, Napoleon and the common law. So I have experience in both of them. And the second thing, I'm sitting for 20 years at the experience committee of PEO, and I did about 600 interviews with the applicants. So my experience is month after month going through syllables and curriculums and everything from people from all around the world who are coming here to become the engineers, licensed engineers. So if you want to go that way, fine. And I said, no, okay, let's have a meeting. But I'm going to have in meeting my enforcement officer. And I said, enforcement officer like security or your inspector? Site inspector. Oh, my inspector, yeah. So basically, when I explained that stuff to Bertha, she said, he's trying simply to intimidate you, to scare you, to run away, because he's going to be exposed for what he's doing and how he's doing the job. He knows very well that he's running around the regulation. He is a local guy, Valley boy. He is from Kimburn, and the only job he had, that's what he's doing right now for all these years. It's extremely conservative. They don't accept any kind of waves. Like engineers would say, okay, this is the way, maybe better, or something like that. Or by the way, they hold the septic record for the Ottawa Valley, for all three conservation authorities. Is it just a dead bunch of information, or do you know what's happening? What was the failing rate? What was the most successful type of systems? Something like that, right? No, there is no. Basically, they are supposed to provide the boundary conditions. When I was, Paul knows, in Smith Falls, when we were working with that guy, he was building something like knock down the house and build a 4 apartments building, and I sent a message to that chief officer, and I said, okay, can I get boundary conditions for the fire protection and water system for the flow and pressure? He came back to me and said, what's the boundary condition? He had no idea. So I explained to him, no hard feeling at all, and the guy provided me with information. But it's Smith Falls. I understand smaller townships, they have issues.
Mhm.
I don't know how many septics I did for Joe Kowalski and his resort.
Yeah.
Bunch of them, and lagoon in the old location and stuff like that. And MOE was all over me for the lagoon. They sent some young girl and she said, oh, you have, hey, wait, stop it. It's for 30 years here. This is the record. This is how things are working, It took me about 6 months, to calm down the whole situation and to get rid of them, if you want to say like that, But this guy, basically, when I told him that, do you understand that what you are doing right now in this email would be absolutely sufficient for me to claim big money out from you, from your personal pocket?
But Zoran, next
And he stopped.
No, I get it.
He
I get it.
stopped me.
No, you poked him in the eye. I get that. But what are we going to do next Friday to resolve this?
Simply what I said. Now I have the design guideline for the septic, that even smaller one. My calculation, you can call it whatever, raised bed, mount bed, trench bed, but the calculation is the same at the end. You have to import the material and create that bed. because
Right.
the situation on site is like that, you know.
We got that.
Otherwise, the site cannot accommodate anything else,
Yeah,
you know. So
I
basically, the
understand.
project is going to be that.
Right.
So if he's pushing that way, yes, probably yes. You know, he is simply exercising a power, you know, and okay, who is going to be a victim? Somebody who doesn't know his rights, or maybe he will hit a wall. But now with these guys, they're quite nice guys, you know, from the Waterloo. And I said, okay, give me your references, give me your documents where you are showing that your system is a good one and suitable for this. Give me now your design guideline for the shallow trench, so we have the whole package.
Okay, so let me ask
And
Paul
that's it.
this question now. Thank you. Paul, do you feel confident that we'll have the right people in the meeting next Friday to resolve this issue?
I think from a process point of view, it would be myself, and from the nitty gritty of the design, it would be Zoran. And also, I guess if push came to shove, this lady from the PEO, if it's getting still testy, I don't know if she would just be observing and sort of speak when spoken to. As I
He
understand
would be
it,
in the as a reviewing engineer.
yeah. Okay.
So
So
basically,
I guess
reviewing
my
engineer.
question is, for next Friday, Zoran, would you be able to walk Terry and this Ryan fellow through the design on a drawing, like a reasonable size, and walk them through the details and the spec sheets from the Waterloo Engineering Manufacturing Company? And then I guess my understanding is that the gaps or the disconnect, which has led to conflict on this, is because you were using, for the percolation rate that we need, you were using soil conditions from another parcel of land in the Ottawa area that you felt you could replicate their soil conditions at this property. And that is where all of the issues came in, that the Terry Davidson felt that that report, correct me if I'm wrong, was specific to that property, and maybe also sort of engineer, like that information was owned by that engineer and you cannot use that. But I don't believe that there was a lot of analysis done from it. It was just the inherent soil conditions resulted in a percolation rate. And if you can replicate those soil conditions, then you can have the same percolation rate, which would then reduce the amount of area on the site for your septic system. They seem to have got their back up about that. And that's when we started talking about an example done by Golders, was it? In Orleans. And that's when Terry Davidson started saying in his email, you can't be using an example that's 40 kilometers away from where you are. And correct me if I'm wrong, is one of the issues on this whole thing is that we do not have soil conditions done by likely
Or Gemtech, you mean?
Gemtech, thank you. That's if we had soil conditions from Gemtech for this property, and you could have used those to then create your percolation rate, and we would not be maybe in the pickle that we're in right now.
Well, yeah, partially. Gemtech did a couple of boreholes for the purpose of the design of the new well, and also a couple of pits. And that's where I caught that they reported the same type of soil, like a gravelly sand, like Golder did on the other side. And it's a surface. So to me, Berta disagrees. To be honest, when I talked to her, she disagreed with that, and she said it's a municipality's right to dismiss such a connection. You know, simply she said maybe in a couple hundred meters something could happen differently. You know, and I said, okay, yeah, but we have also to take into consideration this is a surface. So it's atmospheric pressure, it's the same depth. All these parameters cannot be related to the site. They are something like in laboratory, you know. So everybody has different opinion. But if we want to proceed now, this is what these guys are saying. They simply say we cannot accept it. We have definitely. I think I managed through that contact with him. I managed to put aside all those claims about the my kind of how to say simply saying that Patterson isn't good or something like that. I never said that. Indeed, you know. Yeah, we relied on Patterson's design, even the original Patterson design. If we add what we have from the clinic, what we have added from the new house, and adding the tertiary system, Dr. Olender has a secondary system only at the place. My calculation shows that it's just barely bigger the septic bed than it was done by comparing into the Patterson original one. You know, so there is no. So the outcome at the end of my meeting with this guy Terry was he said, "Okay, this is how we are going to set up the meeting." And I said, "Okay, tell me." We review your designs one by one, step by step, and then we say, do it this way or that way. And I said, you don't have a right to tell me what to design. You are not a designer. You are a reviewer. So you cannot suggest this or that. Simply, we are going to review my design in accordance with building code or any other regulation. And we'll simply say, okay, this is not in accordance to the regulation or building code. It has to be changed.
Okay, so who does
changes would be?
I got it. I got it. It's very clear. So who does Terry Davidson report to, Paul?
I don't know.
Probably the board of directors of the Conservation Authority.
But what I mean,
Well, actually, I don't. I actually don't know because OSSO is technically a separate entity from RVCA, MVCA, and like they're like the resource.
yeah, I understand that. But what we started with 48 minutes ago was that the OSSO is the responsible authority. Terry Davidson has stuck his nose in here. He doesn't work for the OSSO. He works for the Conservation Authority.
No. Correct him, Zoran.
He is the manager in the OSSO,
Okay,
which
so
is under the RVCA.
Oh, okay, so he does not report to the board of directors then of the Conservation Authority.
Right.
If he works for OSSO, there's somebody in the city of Ottawa to whom he reports, correct?
I believe so. Yeah.
So,
But
Otherwise-
OSSO, Bruce, covers a geographic area greater than the city of Ottawa.
I understand that, but he has to report to somebody.
For
I
the
mean,
chief building
it's
official
not-
of the city.
What does OSSO
Yep.
stand for?
Ottawa
Ottawa
Septic System Office.
Ottawa Septic System Office. Let me start with the first word, Ottawa. Okay?
Yeah.
So Terry, everybody reports to somebody. Even Elon Musk reports to somebody. You know,
At least his wife.
and the three men on this call all report to their wives, right? So there's always somebody we report to. So what I need you to find out between now and next Friday is who does Terry report to? Okay? So Paul, find out who he reports to. And after your meeting, Zoran, if we cannot get a resolution, I need you to write me, email me a note and saying, look, Terry Davidson has overstepped his authority. He is not a designer. He's not designing the system. Zoran is designing the system, and he overstepped his authority. We have evidence to suggest this is a perfectly adequate design. Mr. Davidson rejected that. He overstepped his authority. It was overreach on his part. He is holding up this project for no good reason. Send that to me with the name of his boss, whoever it is, male or female, doesn't matter. Let me know. And I'm going to take it up with his boss. Because, look, I'm with you on that, Zoran. A review is a review. I understand the difference between a review and a design. You are the designer, they're the reviewer. If you have messed up your calculations or you have somehow stepped outside the Ontario Building Code, it's perfectly within their right to say, oh my gosh, you made a mistake here. And look, we all make mistakes. I'm a civil engineer.
Go back and do it again.
And I make mistakes. I try to be perfect, but I am not. So if it's a mistake, we'll fix it. But if he's just saying, I don't fucking like you, so I'm turning this down, well, that's not an acceptable reason. And that's exactly the same problem I had with this particular township, where they were just, their position was ridiculous. It was literally retarded. I'm sorry to use that word, but it was. And so I need to know, first of all, I hope you resolve the damn thing next Friday. But if you don't, I need to have a note from you, Zoran, with what the objections are to his behavior. And I'm going to take it up with his boss. All right, when I get back from Australia.
Well, yeah. I think it's exactly what I managed to get out of that phone conversation. I simply said, stay within technical review in the meeting. We are going step by step. I'll provide you with my information and how I did it and why I did it. And that's it. But if you are suggesting something different with no substantiated reasons.
If he's just pulling it out of his ear, it makes no sense. All right, gentlemen, I have to go. I hope you both have a great Christmas. I hope it's a Merry Christmas. I hope 2024 is a good year for everybody and we're all healthy and safe. And good luck at that meeting. Try and get resolved. But if there's a roadblock there in the name of Mr. Davidson, I'm going to take it up with his whether it's the board of directors, Paul, or it's an individual. Let me know, okay?
Is like how it seems to me that there maybe have to be a bit of a give and take, or people might have to step down from their podium a little bit at the meeting. I just wonder how much, how much do we have to nudge down or give in order to, because it'd be wonderful. It'd be wonderful at the end of the meeting.
Hold on, Paul. There's a difference between being polite and cordial and also being bullied into a solution that is suboptimal. So on the first part, I think, look, even when I was out on site and it was freezing cold that day, I was talking to the chief building official and the head of planning. I was very frank with them and I did poke them in the eye, but I didn't yell at them or swear at them. I mean, it was cordial, but I was very frank. So it's okay to step back on the, and be friendly and polite. And certainly we're not going to yell at people. We're not going to swear at them. That we don't do. That's not professional behavior. But on the Zoran is right. And you have to back him up on this, as I'm sure you will. On the calculations and the design, if it's in error in the calculations or the design, and it's inconsistent with the Ontario Building Code, all right, tell us, we'll fucking change it. But if it's consistent with the building code and the calculations are correct and and we have a reviewer there and nobody can tell us any different, then you got to approve it. That's it. And if they don't approve, then it's a personality conflict that then comes to me, and I'm going to take it up with his boss because I'm not going to put up with this. We're now over 3 years into this fucking process, and we still don't have our site plan approval. So let's see if we can resolve it. And you're right, Paul. We should be cordial and professional, but also on the building code side of things and the design. Look, Paul, you and I know Zoran knows what he's doing. He didn't just fall off the hayseed truck last week. No. All right. So I absolutely have to go, gentlemen. Like I said, have a good Christmas. Let me know how it goes. If it's a good conclusion, great. And if it's a bad conclusion, I will deal with it when I get back.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice holidays.
All right.
Merry Christmas. Bye.
It's a long way.
Bye-bye.